So today's a time change day, and right now there's only three of us. And I've had several other people write to me and say, "Oh, it's a time change day. Don't worry, I'll be there." But they haven't made it yet. So I started talking, going to start talking to Sherry and Joel about something called the free energy principle. And it's by a scientist by the name of Carl, Karl, Carl Friston, Friston. And, we have the second law of entropy on our planet, um, which tells us that the universe tends towards entropy, which is dissolution, um, dissolving, but that living beings fiercely resist this law. And because we really resist this law, we're all still here. Otherwise, we could be like a seemingly different person every day when we wake up. And so what we spend, of course, like the second law of thermodynamics, I don't really know what that means, and very few people do. So it's not like once I read about the second law of thermodynamics, I started living my life differently. But what happens is, in order to stay alive and have a life, we very strongly work against the second law of thermodynamics and dissolution. And what's so interesting about that, because we don't really realize that emotionally or even logically, but our system very much knows that it doesn't want to dissolve overnight. So, according to Carl Friston, and he's getting more and more people, scientific people behind him all the time, we very much work to maintain who we already are. And one of the things that becomes very interesting once you know this is that our brain, according to Mr. Friston, is constantly going through what's just happened. And if something happened that winds up surprising us, surprising me, for instance, then with no one saying anything, I start looking to understand how it is that something unusual happened. So if, for instance, I'm sitting here not being able to see myself on the video, and somehow I had the feeling that my left index finger was touching my nose. I don't know, for some reason I just go, so my left index finger is touching my nose. And when I said that, I would quickly realize, is my left index finger touching my nose? I don't think so. And then I would either quickly move to make that happen, or I would say, oh, wait a second, I don't know, I must have been just dreaming for a moment. But I don't just let it be. So he says, Mr. Friston says that we're all sampling the world on an ongoing basis, looking to make sure that what we thought happened just happened. And then when it's in some way seriously does not happen, well, that's a problem. And we could even become, for instance, as he says, could even become schizophrenic.
So,
Totally convinced that my left index finger was touching my nose and it wasn't, we would really freak out about what's going on.
so
So,
Charlie, so how does that relate to when, like the guy in the ape costume walks across the basketball court and like nobody notices him?
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I'm not sure what you're asking, Joel, because what we don't notice, we don't notice. I'm so, maybe it's related like this, I'm not sure. With the 8 guys passing the basketball around, and I don't notice that the ape just walked across the room. Of course, not a real ape, but a guy in a costume looking like an ape. I'm so convinced that I'm just looking at 8 guys passing a ball around that I don't notice anything else. So maybe that's part of the free energy principle. And
Or is it I see it, but it's so out of space with the rest of the
now,
world?
because it happens in front of your eyes, doesn't mean that you actually see it. I mean, I think that goes on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Carol on her iPhone. I'm wondering if we'll be able to see her during the course of today or not. So, what I think, this has really impacted me thinking about this over the last couple of days. And, okay, it's a little different, but it's kind of like this. I logged on at what I thought was the correct time today. I was quite certain I logged on at the correct time. And when at the very beginning nobody else was here, I started mildly freaking out. I didn't just sit there and go, well, I guess everybody's just going to be late tonight. I was a bit like, huh. I checked my time twice. Then I was, whew, when at least Joel showed up. Then Sherry showed up, it got a little better. Now, even though we can't see Carol and she has her volume turned off, so we can't hear her either. So she's a mystery participant. My emotional energy calms down because what's happening now, although I was expecting more people for today's class, it's making sense. And now my friend Ellen is on. We won't be seeing her, but that I know. And Ellen's on. And Carol says, apologies, she's taking care of us. I don't know what it says after small. It might say child.
Yes, it does.
Small
child.
child, yes. Okay. So anyway, just 5.
Charlie, I have a question for you though. When you had that reaction about your time, and you said I was freaking out and looking at it and like, did I have the right time? Blah, 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 blah. But my question would be around your own personal sense of responsibility for starting on time, what you thought was time, whether it was the right time or the wrong time, and your sense of I'm responsible, so I'm here. I'm here at the time, designated time. And then when you suddenly question your own sense of, where is everybody? Did I do something? Where is everybody? I'm here, but am I supposed to be here or is it a different time? I mean, there's a lot of things that go on with that awareness. And I'm just curious how you worked your way through starting and then no one was there. Just curious.
Okay, first of all, let me start with an example. I don't know if it's a great example or not, but the other day I was in a crowded space and I can speak Japanese fairly well. I'm not fully fluent, I'm embarrassed to say, because I lived there for 30 years. But anyway, my Japanese is okay. And it's better than my Thai, although I can understand basic Thai conversations. Anyway, I'm out in the mall and I'm actually waiting to get on an elevator. And these two people are talking behind me, and I wind up going, huh? Just like, I don't know, I'm just waiting to get on the elevator. That's all I know, right? And I'm in Thailand. And, huh? And it took me about 10, 15 seconds to realize that my huh was the fact that two people behind me were talking Japanese to each other. And I literally, I believe, had to go through this little thing of, oh, wait a second, I'm not in Japan. And then I even had to say, am I? And then, thank goodness Michael Landry came on so that I was able to say, no, of course I'm not in Japan, I'm in Thailand. So each person, and when I say I freaked out when no one was here, I don't mean I really freaked out,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
everybody will go through that, huh? Really? What? Differently, because we all have a different history. But the thing that this gentleman, again, Mr. Friston, is on about with the free energy principle, and I really suggest everybody that they have a look about that later on today, is we are constantly, without realizing it, as he calls it, sampling what's going on and making sure it fits with what we were expecting. And when it doesn't meet with what we are expecting, we're unsettled. And whether we're incredibly unsettled or a little bit unsettled, a lot of that has to do with just how unexpected is the thing that's happening. And Michael, if you don't mind, I'd ask you to free up your voice and also your video, but that depends on you. So, and what this guy again, Carl Friston, Karl, is talking about is schizophrenic people really spend most of their time, there you go, you were there for a second, great. Schizophrenic people, like let's just say right now, all of a sudden, Michael's image comes up on the screen. And if I was a bit more schizophrenic than I am, I might be freaking out, thinking he's a crow or thinking he's an American Indian, such and such spirit. Because how is it that these, and I'm taking it that you guys are actually like in the room with me. So schizophrenic people spend a tremendous amount of their time trying to figure out exactly what the hell is going on. And what I was thinking, one of the things that I was thinking about with that is that that's why today is so interesting, that, the universe provides us with our learning. Is today was so interesting because I logged on at the correct time. And because it's daylight savings time in the United States, I was the only person on the call right on time. And I started a little bit, what the hell's going on? And mistrusting myself. And I think it's very interesting to the extent that we do trust ourselves, because, and maybe you've met people like this in your life, I certainly have. I've met people in my life who pretty much literally literally say, nobody seems to agree with me. That just goes to show me that there are a bunch of idiots. Have you ever met anybody like that? Raise your hand if you have. Yes, everybody has. And I'm going to assume that Ellen raised her hand also. And maybe, I'm not sure, maybe even, we missed our one guest, logged off. So, is your confidence warranted? And we spend a really, really major part of our life trying to verify that. And when whatever we're expecting more or less is happening, we don't think about it. So like Sherry was saying earlier, it was 34 degrees where she is in Cleveland. Is that it? If I woke up this morning and it was 34 degrees here, I would be so freaking out, because that would most likely mean that the world is going to come to an end soon. Because this is Thailand, and normally at this time of year it's 90. And how do you figure out the temperature going from centigrade to Fahrenheit? Double the temperature and add 32. Sherry, that is so useful for me to know that. Thank you. So here we are. And I was planning on doing some talking about the free energy principle anyway, because for me, it's very interesting. And it happens to be becoming a big deal in the scientific world little by little. And I suggest you look it up, the free energy principle, Carl, Karl, Friston, Friston. And so what we're looking to do is minimize our surprise as we go through life. And one of the many reasons why this free energy principle quite intrigues me, being that I just found out about it a few days ago, is it's not like I'm sitting here going, I want to be right and I'm going to do whatever I can do to prove that I'm right and not Joel, for instance. But that we have going on in the background, Charlie and each individual is looking to minimize his surprise and goes through life trying to understand, is what is happening what I was expecting to happen? And if not, I need to either change my belief about things, or I need to perk up my awareness and notice that, oh, yes, okay, something different is happening than I thought. So, oh, yes, the guy in the ape costume is walking around in the background with the 8 guys passing the basketball around. So that we, depending really how we go through life, I can either try to negate what's going on, which I don't like or wasn't expecting, by saying something like, oh, that's just Michael saying that. That's not important. And just whoosh, go somewhere else because I need to be so correct. Or do I say, wow, okay, Michael said something that really is surprising to me. Let me look at what's possible here. And I think we very definitely see those two kinds of people in the world. A person that says, oh, it was only him, forget about it, he's not important in my life. Or, oh my goodness, maybe I need to change my model of the world a little bit. And I think you can particularly see that in the current political environment in the United States. And what I notice going on, and I'm very purposely not living in the United States, but I see people with wildly different models of the world. And it's literally very close to 50-50, 50% of the people believing that the other 50% really don't have a clue about what's going on. And what that winds up meaning is that more or less 50%, half of the population, is somehow attempting to cancel out what the other half of the population believes. And that means the country doesn't tend to do so well during times like that. Okay, I pause.
Yeah, Charlie, I put a link to the work of Farb and Siegel, which talks about the default mode network, which is our rapid problem solving. And I'm just wondering how the free energy principle relates to the work of Farb and Siegel. Might be very interesting. So.
I had difficulty hearing that, Joel, so say that the basic part of it again.
So I put a link to some work by 2 scientists who talk about the default mode network.
Okay.
And I'm just curious, want to explore how the free energy principle and their work kind of relate to each other. So.
Okay, well, I have no idea about what you posted, so I certainly can't remark on it. And I can only say that this Friston gentleman is getting more and more backers, like kind of on every day. And when you read what he writes, it certainly, one of the things I love about it is very easy to go, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. Now that doesn't make it right, but I go, oh, okay. So let me ask you a question, Joe, since you posted another link. Anytime in the last month, has something happened that you weren't expecting to happen and therefore most likely wasn't really wanting to happen?
Sure.
Did you say sure?
Yes.
Okay. How about Sherry?
Ask the question again. I only heard half of it. Did something in the last month?
Has anything in the last month happened that you weren't expecting to happen?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay. And how about Michael?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. And Michael, let me ask you again, because the lighting is very interesting and the background behind you. What location are you in? I know you're in your, I'm guessing you're in your house, but what state is that?
Victoria.
Oh, Victoria. It's not, it's the 51st state.
Yeah.
And it's in the Gulf of Australia.
Oh, well, Victoria, Australia. That's right. That's right.
The 52nd
The Gulf of
state.
Australia.
Okay. No, the lighting is very, there's something significant about that. And what time is it there?
It is about 11:30ish now, I think.
Okay. So it's brighter and everything.
Yeah. And then and we've got the sun coming in through the front window, the stained glass window.
Okay. So you've also had something happen in this last month that you weren't expecting, correct? Correct, Michael?
Yeah.
And how did you react? What did you do as a reaction to that, Michael? If you don't
Oh,
mind.
it was a good thing. So we had a bottle of champagne. So it
You
was
got the bottle of champagne, or you decided to buy a bottle after that happened?
I got one after that. So just
Okay. So you were just pleased with this surprise.
yeah, this surprises.
Okay. Sherry, what was your
Yes.
reaction to your surprise?
Oh, I'm still dealing with it. Yes, it was unexpected, and I'm still dealing with it actually because it's annoying. And I know the difference about annoying and even letting it annoy me.
Yeah.
So I keep questioning the whole situation and thinking, what is it that makes me so uncomfortable with this whole thing? And it comes down to I like it or I don't like it, and I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like it. How's that?
Let's back up a little bit and use a tried and true
Oh
Seishindo
God.
concept. We all tend to talk about it. It's bothering me. It's got me annoyed. And sorry. And it doesn't know you exist. Chances are, it's possible anyway. And anyway, whatever's happening, it is not a living thing that can actually turn left or right or whatever. So it's more correct to say, I've been upsetting myself.
I have been upsetting myself, and it bothers me that I even put that much energy even to think about it, because it is it is of no value. Um, it is of no value at all to even think about it, and to release it and let it go is my goal.
Okay.
Just to release the whole thing,
So,
let it go.
Sherry,
That's the goal.
Sherry, in what you just said, I lost count, but you said the word it about 8 or 10 times
Yes,
while you're talking about wanting to release it.
yes.
One of the ways to release it is to not keep saying it.
Yes.
So how can you restate what you said?
Um, I'm angry. How's that?
Okay, that's a great difference. You might not be, it might not be great that you're angry, but I really appreciate. You see what happened? I'll say to Joel and Michael. You see what happened? She went from it, and it is not a living thing as such, to I am angry. That's a huge change.
Yep.
It gives you an incredibly greater opportunity to change the way you're feeling. And my friend Ellen, who I know for a long, long time, we were doing a little chatting in between classes, and she said, "Oh, this it concept is interesting. I'll have to pay attention to it." And Ellen, here it is. Here it is happening right now.
It is.
That I think in NLP there's a term, maybe Joe will recall it, lost performative, I think it's called. And it is a lost performative. And it is something that doesn't exist, that you're making it seem like it is like a living entity. And
It's the emotion. It is definitely the emotion.
it's definitely my emotions.
It's definitely my emotion that I am angry.
Yeah.
And um, I always have a choice about this, and it's really interesting because I've been playing with it, thinking, what is it that makes me so upset about this? Anger, upset, I'll use the same words. What is it that makes it so upsetting? And trying to find a word or words to describe anger or upset. Okay.
Pause. Please try to listen to your friend Charlie and do what
Yes,
he
I will,
does.
Charlie.
So Sherry, pause, because I need to say something. And I think you'll want to hear it. You slip back into it again.
I heard that. I heard that little slip.
That little, boy, you got to be paying attention to catch that. So you are upsetting yourself. It is not upsetting you, correct?
Correct. Correct.
You know, if I dropped an ice cream cone, a double scoop ice cream cone on the sidewalk, and I'm looking down at that double scoop ice cream cone, and I say to you, boy, looking at it really annoys me. You see where I'm kind of missing what's really going on? The ice cream cone is laying on the sidewalk. The ice cream cone doesn't know who Charlie is. The ice cream cone, as far as I can understand, is not capable of thinking. It's not capable of picking itself back up off the sidewalk. And the ice cream cone is not what's making me upset. The fallen ice cream cone. I'm making myself upset.
Yes, I am. I agree with that.
Okay. And I had a small accident today, and luckily it was a very small accident. I was going to wash a glass, and it's a fairly thick, oh, you can't see it because I've got the background on. It's a thick glass. It's a high quality glass. It's not like a thin, like a wine glass or something. And at my sink, my torso's up close to the edge of the sink, and the glass slipped out of my hand. And I was very pleased when I caught it with my upper torso. And the glass got caught between the sink and the counter and me. But holy mackerel, I was surprised to discover that catching it, it hit the glass hard enough to break the glass. And I live in Thailand, so we don't wear shoes in the house, or most people don't. And then I was quickly like, pay attention, don't go anywhere, because the last thing anybody would like to do is step on a shard of glass when they're barefoot, you know? And then, anyway, thank God it was only 2 pieces of glass. And I actually put the glass back together again just to make sure that I get, all of the pieces, or would there be other pieces? So I upset myself a bit. But the fact that I didn't wind up cutting myself and or injuring myself, I actually felt like it was a win for me. So something happened in your life, Sherry, that you used as an opportunity to anger yourself. And what can you tell us about your anger? And for Joel and Mike, before Sherry begins, make sure you heard, well, I already said it, so you don't have a replay on how you're listening, but do your best to remember exactly how I asked her. Tell us more about your anger, Sherry. Very different than saying, tell us about it. Tell us about your anger, Sherry.
It's annoying.
Your anger is annoying.
Yes, my anger annoys me because it disrupts my peace of mind. And my peace of mind is very important. And to
Okay.
have that, and to have anger disrupt my quality of peace of mind, it just annoys me.
Okay. And did you notice you slipped in the it part again?
Anger annoys me.
My anger is annoying me.
My anger is annoying me.
Right?
Yes.
Not anger
Yes.
is annoying me. That's whose anger? What anger? My
My,
anger is annoying me. Now, I have a rather simple question to ask you, and I'm wondering why you haven't thought about it yet, and I'm saying that playfully. If your anger is annoying you, why don't you just stop being angry?
ah, I think my anger is making me right. My anger makes me feel right.
Phenomenal. So first of all, and we're here in these classes, I'm teaching a method of coaching, Seishindo wisdom coaching. And although I enjoy meeting you people every couple of weeks, that's the purpose, is to teach you guys some of what I know in regard to coaching. And I could be a total yuck in the rest of my life, but I'm pretty good at coaching, and here I am teaching you coaching. And Sherry, the first thing I noticed, and I'm guessing our 2 friends here noticed as well, is the tone of your voice changed all of a sudden when you said, oh, there was a lightness to your voice that hadn't been showing up. And I might have missed what you said a little bit, but I'm going to do my best to repeat it. Something to the effect of, I'm realizing my anger has to do with me really wanting to be correct.
Yep. Yep.
And let me ask you, when you're really wanting to be correct, and you use that way of thinking to also make yourself angry, I'm wondering if you're not punishing yourself to some extent. You're angry. Your anger in this instance is not changing the world. You were previously a little bit caught in your anger. Is that a form of self-punishment or not?
Um,
And she's shaking her finger. We're going to find out what that means.
um, got it. Punishing. That was an interesting word. And what came up for me is, oh, I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't feel that way. I should, the other piece of this is punishing myself. I'm being self-righteous. I'm right. I'm being self-righteous. I am punishing myself. Boy, that's a really interesting word, Charlie. Let me just look at that for a second.
Okay, yeah, and take your time and slow down. And
Um,
the other members of the group realize or notice, wow, Sherry's tone of voice has really changed. And I think when someone changes their tone of voice, usually that's something that you can really trust, that they actually, quote unquote, got something, realized something different and or new.
I think what it is, what's coming up is, um, boy, it's amazing how old stories just sneak in. Oh my goodness. The punishing, oh my gosh, that is such an I'm stuck on the word I'm not stuck. I'm really trying to pull it out because it's
One
a
second, one second, one second. And again,
what?
this is Charlie trying to help you, not some
Yeah,
and then the guy and that guy just interrupting you. You go back to it and you lose the life of what's happening.
I'm there. I'm really there. It's a
Now it, you just said it.
what I'm feeling is okay, I'm going to go back to I'm right. I'm punishing myself. I'm angry, not less, a lot less so, because I'm beginning to realize that I'm punishing myself because I'm making someone else wrong for no reason. No, they don't know that they're wrong. In fact, they're very clear they would never be wrong. I'm punishing myself for making them wrong because I'm right. I'm really right. And my anger is because they don't even know it. They have no clue. But I do. I am
Okay, so
I
Jerry,
mm,
stop.
mm,
You're doing
mm,
great. Stop. The reason why I ask you to stop from time to time is otherwise there becomes too much information.
mhm, mhm,
Let me ask you this question.
mhm.
Who is your anger directed towards?
Oh, in this case, I'm getting a clearer picture. The anger is at me for making the other person wrong.
What's
They
wrong?
have done
What's,
nothing except be
what's
who they are.
wrong? What's wrong with making the other person wrong?
Because what's wrong about making the other person wrong is it's not being a good girl.
And you
It's
like,
not being a nice person.
okay, well, why don't you be a nice person then?
Well, it's getting there. I can tell you that. The good thing is I am beginning to let it go.
You're
Uh,
beginning- Excuse me? Beginning,
I heard it. I know you won't let me go.
so say
I
it again.
am beginning to let my anger dissipate.
Good. Wow, what a different statement than it.
Yes, I am beginning to let my anger dissipate because I realize that I'm punishing myself for not being a nice person. There you go.
Fantastic. Wow.
Not being a nice person. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we all have times when we're not a nice person, I believe. Believe it or not, even Charlie isn't a nice person sometimes.
Yes. In that human persona that we create for ourselves, we have our value systems, etc. And my anger is, yeah, I'm not being a nice person. That's what the anger was about. I don't think it's still the intensity. It is disappearing. Um, just having the opportunity to talk about it and recognize it, that it's I'm
I am.
feeling I am feeling better. I'm feeling more aware. I'm feeling more at peace. And that I said that in the beginning. My goal is to be at peace. I couldn't get there without noticing and naming anger and punishment
Yeah.
and knowing that it's my value system, or it's a persona thing.
Yes, God bless you.
Yeah.
So you
That's
can be,
fantastic.
so now you can be angry and not be a nice person at the same time.
I can be, but I'm not. I'm not. I can't pull the same intensity back. It just kind of drifted away. So I'm feeling much better.
I mean, anger can be great, of course, because sometimes it leads us to stand up against some power entity and really make a change in the world. Um,
Yes.
Something that I've had happen a few times in my life is I've been out somewhere in public, at least a half dozen times. I've been out somewhere in public, and the first time this happened for me, I was maybe like 22, 23 years old. And I've never had a fight in my adult life. I've been a professional martial artist for 20 years, but I never had a fight in my life. And I'm sure that I won't, particularly now that I'm almost 77. But a parent physically abusing their child out in public. Of course, yelling at the child, but like really violently pulling on the kid's arm and or a couple of times slap in the face. And I've walked up as calmly as possible and said, please stop doing that. And the guy looks at me, of course, like, huh? Who the hell are you? And please stop doing that right now. And then I just, shh. And sometimes I just said, oh, and they stopped it. And then there's a couple of other times when the guy said, and who the hell are you to tell me what to do? And I said, I'm just a concerned adult that wants to not see any child physically abused. And again, and they get that I'm not going away until they more or less agree with me or at least stop it for the moment. And I always walk away from something like that thinking, boy, wouldn't it be lovely if this little intervention actually had some kind of made some kind of long-term change in the life of this child. Chances are not, but anyway, here we are. So a lost performative, right, Joel, is the term I believe I'm looking for in NLP language. And when we almost always use lost performatives when we're talking about how we are upset. Upset could be angry, depressed, whatever.
So, Charlie, did you ever feel like you wanted to get a pith helmet and a big butterfly net, and so you could help people chase after it?
What a big butterfly net to do what, please?
To chase after it.
Oh, to chase after it.
Yeah. You'd be like,
well, I'd like to have the concession for selling the big butterfly net.
okay.
You know, Noam Chomsky, a very famous person amongst some people, scientist and very, very active politically his whole life, came up with, what did he call his grammar? Was it called living grammar or something? And NLP nicely massaged it a little bit and it became the meta model of language. And it's very clear to me that every time we find ourselves upset, we are in some important way misdescribing what's going on. Misdescribing what's going on. And I think the thing that's the easiest in the world to grab a hold of is this lost performative thing where Joel's discussing, or Joel's asking, we could sell people a butterfly net so that they could somehow catch what it is they're talking about, or maybe a little bit more NLP would say, if you can't put it in a butterfly net, don't talk about it. So whether it's my anger, whether it's my depression, whether it's my failure to be able to concentrate, the more I talk about the less likely I am to accomplish what I'd like to accomplish in my life. And to go back to Mr. Carl Friston, the more free energy will be going around in my life and leading me to feel discombobulated, unsettled. And our reason for being unsettled could be pretty much infinite. I'm unsettled because I really don't like to be an angry, unhappy person. So, Mike, what is it that you have to say about today?
First off, I was thinking about when you mentioned the word punishment and how that created that sense of curiosity with her. And, but also some of what you're talking about relates to some situations in my life, anger about my brother, the way he's treated me, and I'm trying to work through whether I carry it or whether I actually confront him. That's all.
Well, you know, I just happened to come across a woman who's about exactly my age, because I knew her when I was quite young, like when I was about 18. And wow, she had all sorts, and not very nice lady, and I'm not attempting to talk badly about her now. And she might even say some of the same stuff if she was on this call. She had all of these different judgments about me, about what I did and didn't do in my life, including I grew up in Staten Island, including I didn't live pretty much my whole life on Staten Island. I had a girlfriend when I was 18 years old, and it was a situation where this girlfriend was like so in love with me. Like even when I was 18, I felt like she was way too much in love with me and not enough of good feeling about herself. And this woman, this lady who's now a woman, was this my girlfriend's best friend. And she's been walking around. I'm sure most of the time she never even thought about it, but here she is 58 years later, angry at me because I broke up with this girlfriend. Holy mackerel. Not only did I break up with this girlfriend, but I started a couple of important businesses. I moved to Japan. I created a business in Nepal. I'm living in Thailand. I mean, my God, my whole life basically happened after I was 18 years old. So my father was a violent alcoholic when I was a young kid. Do I still have some of that violent energy in my energetic footprint? Absolutely. But, and this is very important to me, I am not violent towards anybody else at all that I know of. And in fact, the martial art that I studied intently for 20 years has no attack form. We don't kick, punch, or in any other way look to hurt or punish the person that's starting a fight with us. And we never start the fight. But is somehow that whole violence, anger, energy still in my energetic footprint? Yes. And I will say that most of the ladies that I've had any kind of relationship with, including this 18-year-old girl that I mentioned before, came from households where there was violence. So that the violence I went through somehow matched the violence that these other people had gone through. So Mike, you've had a brother who treated you not well. And how is it that you run that through your head? Is it that wasn't fair? That wasn't what?
Oh, it's a combination. I went over. My dad was passing away about a year and a half ago, and I was there. And then he's accused me of all this stuff, saying, you know, fault things that some of it he is misinformed, and there's some that try to say that he said, "Oh, you borrowed like 50,000 from mom and dad, you didn't pay it back." I didn't borrow. I don't know how much to confront him with our let it lie, or whether I should actually then say, point out like, no, this is untrue. Boom, 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 and whether I just piss him off even more, or whether I just let sleeping dogs lie. That's
Yeah. So here's my little bit of advice, and I really mean only a little bit of advice. Talking about this for 2 minutes is not sufficient. Is that sometimes, I don't know, I can't think of a quote, but I'm thinking of, how do you say his name? Khalil Gibran?
yeah.
or one of these other kind of mystics, is the best thing we can do, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, is somehow just say, so be it. God bless this person. God is blessing this person.
Yeah.
Because, again, I'm learning a lot from the American political, I call it fiasco, that's going on in the United States, where people, wow, just butting heads like it's pretty much unbelievable. And one person even getting to the point where I've listened in on conversations where one person says, "You're calling me an asshole? You're the biggest asshole I've ever met in my entire life." And guess what? That conversation just goes on. It's most likely going on at this very moment, right? If those two people are awake. Do I wish my father hadn't beaten me as a kid? Of course. But since he did indeed beat me, what I've attempted to do, partially unconsciously, but also consciously, is to turn my beatings into a gift that can serve other people. So that the more we can use our anger, our frustration, again, it could be our depression, although we usually don't do much when we're depressed, as a gift, learn from it and use it as a gift that we can give to other people. So, Sherry, what you and I went through together today, I think it's an excellent piece of work. And again, to use NLP language, when we can find the lost performative and to realize we're never really talking about it, because we can't put it, oh, and there, Zoom likes when I do the two V's. We can never, please don't ever talk about anything that you can't catch in a butterfly net. We're always, when it's all said and done, talking about ourselves, my response, my anger, my frustration. Beautiful. And your whole tone changed, you softened, and you became this lovely Sherry again that we all very happy to know and interact with. And for Mike, maybe we could even talk about this in another class, but to just like my sister, bless her soul, she died about a year ago now, and she was a couple of years older than me. And my sister, I had it tough as a kid. My sister had it even tougher. And she grew up as an alcoholic. And there's been times in my life that I did way too much drinking. Long periods of time in my life that I did way too much drinking. Not anymore, thank God. And I found that I had a choice, and I made it, and I said, her name was Sharon. I said, Sharon, please don't call me at all anymore in the evening. We lived in the same time zone in those days. Please don't call me at all in the evening if you've had even one drink to drink. Because if you've ever had the displeasure of talking to someone that's half drunk and doesn't realize it, and they're upset, and they're trying to convince you, for instance, that you should also be upset about what they're upset about, and after they've called you basically about the same problem about 6 different times. So it turned out that I actually had to say that to my sister twice. And the second time she got that I was really, really meaning it. And then I had virtually almost no relationship with her for the next 50 years. And I would do things like send her a Christmas card or birthday card every once in a while saying something to the effect of, "You are my sister, and I know neither one of us had an easy life, and I would love to be in relationship with you, but I just can't be in relationship with you if alcohol is in the middle of it all." And bless her soul, she wasn't able to stop drinking. And that's part of what killed her. But at least I wasn't abusing myself on a regular basis listening to her drunk. And in particular, and I don't know if this is at all true with you, Mike, is because my sister's upsetness, let's call it, was very linked to me because I was living in the very same house as her when a lot of this bad stuff happened to her. And I was not fully aware of it by any means, but vaguely aware of it because the energy in my house, like I'm surprised that the walls of the apartment didn't break down because the energy was very heavy. So I think we've learned something really good here today with Sherry's help. Little secondary help from Michael, and I'm very pleased that you guys show up. There was supposed to be at least 2 other people that told me they were coming to class, 3 other people that said, "Oh, the time changed, but don't worry, I'll definitely come to class." And then they didn't show up, but that's the way it happens sometimes. So I'm doing my best to help you learn about the model of coaching and assisting people that I use. And maybe the very next class, if I remember, I'm making a mental note to myself now. I would love to know how, if at all, you folks are using what you're learning with me when interacting with other people. Is that happening at all yet, for instance, for you, Michael?
Yes, part of it is with my profession, I try to use that sense of curiosity to ask them questions. It's so easy to tell you this is what you need to do. This is the problem versus the sense of curiosity that they understand it more when they go, "Oh, that's interesting." And so, but also some of it for my benefit as well. Some of the things we've gone over.
And by the way, are you a Mike or Michael?
I could probably go by Mike, but sometimes more I sign things as Michael, but probably most people say Mike.
Okay. So yes, usually when we suggest to people or even tell people what to do, it's very rare that it has any kind of lasting impact. And certainly, again, what we saw with Sherry today was this whole beautiful process that happened very quickly. And when you heard the tone of her voice change, you knew it was really happening. And she's going to take this with her. I really trust that. So,
Charlie, can I chime in for a minute? Um, I was on, I think I missed last week or the week before, I can't remember, but I liked how you, when you're doing the work, you are really, really listening. And I think that's hard for someone who has, I'll speak for me. I find it's hard when I'm in an emotional state and can't identify the emotion. I had no idea how angry I was. And with just a few simple words, it really brought to fruition what was really going on. And I had no clue. And I actually have clients. So when I'm working with clients, I don't do that. Of course, I'm not on the emotional side. I'm on the listening side and the curiosity side and tell me more and whatever. But what is most helpful is to be on the other side as well. You have to have an experience of both because without that experience, it I'll say this, with the experience, it deepens with the experience. I think it helps bring things home to a client that you have no clue what will open the door for it. You had no clue that the word punish or this or saying it, but with your help, it became very easy to make contact with myself, to understand what was going on.
so
And I see how important that is to have both sides, to have that awareness, just ever
yes,
so much. It opens the door.
yes. And let me tell you, I mean, I say thank goodness this has been happening to me for a while, but I don't know how it happens exactly. Is in this work, just like I just paused there, huh? Why did I pause? Actually, my thinking wasn't complete yet, so I had to like stop and let my thinking catch up to me, which happens often for me. But in this work, I continue to learn a little bit more every day, to trust in my intuition. And when I say intuition, I'm very careful that I'm not like making some remark to Mike about what I think about Australian men, or if someone's Jewish and I'm making some veiled anti-Semitic statement, or I don't mean judgments. I got to really be clear that my judgment is not involved. And I reached for punish. I literally felt myself go, and I reached for punish. And you said, "Oh my God, that was such a perfect term. How did that come about?" I was trusting my intuition. And at the very least, it would have been a term that nobody noticed, including you. But the more I trust my intuition and make sure that I'm not emotionally involved about what my client or other person is talking about, I can say, wow, for instance, sometimes I say to people, maybe it would be a good idea that you just for a little bit feel sorry for your husband or your father or your boss or whatever. What if you felt sorry for them? How would you respond, for instance? sometimes that opens up a beautiful can of worms, you know? So, thank you for today, everyone. Ellen lasted the whole class. Thank you, Ellen. Mike, Sherry, Joel, as always, myself. I'm thanking myself. And we'll have a class in 2 weeks. And yes, I really look forward to you folks telling us how you've used some of what you've learned by coming here with other people, because that's when it really becomes exciting, when it mushrooms out. Okay, thank you, folks.